Hi, welcome back to No BS Mortgage Advice. I'm Brad East, and today I'm going to be talking about credit scores and your credit file and what that actually means. So first off, we'll start with what is a credit file or credit score. A credit file is something it's held by a third-party company, usually Equifax, one of the similar companies to that. Basically, that credit file houses a lot of information that a lender could use to determine your likelihood of repaying a loan. Within that credit file, there's what's called a credit score. Now, your credit score ranges usually from a 0 to a 1200. 1200 being the best, 0 being you got no chance of getting finance. So 600 obviously is the average. There's a lot of lenders out there that will not lend to you if you've got a credit score of less than 600. So it's very important that you maintain a high credit score when you're looking to purchase, refinance, or anything in general. So what we're going to go through today is basically what you can do to keep a high credit score, what are some of the things that lenders look for or report to each other that it does affect your credit score. And we're also going to be giving you some tips on, just generally how to keep that credit score high. Now, you might be asking, why does it really matter? The higher the credit score, the more chances you are of getting approved as well. So if you've got a low credit score, it does really limit the lenders that you can go with. And basically, they see you as a higher risk. The higher the risk, the higher the interest rate, the bigger the deposit you're going to need, because the banks need to reduce their risk. They're not about, lending out money to people who they think aren't going to repay it. So it's very important that we do this. Now, you might be stressed or worried that you've already screwed your credit file, you've got a couple of defaults or late payments on there. Stick around to the end, because what I'm going to do is give you a couple of tips on how to clean up the credit file, even if you have ruined it. So first off, we're going to talk about what do the lenders actually look for, or what do they actually report onto the credit file. The first thing that they do report through is obviously your ID. They need to make sure that it matches. So your first name, last name, all those details, your address, your employment, all those things come through, and they update your credit file every time that you apply for finance. One of the reasons the employment goes through to that is just to make sure that you're not changing jobs all the time. So that is something that will affect your credit score, but not much, but it is something that they look at. Same with your ID. Some of the things that do have a major effect on your credit score, late payments. So late payments is one of the most common things that we see as finance brokers or mortgage brokers that does affect your credit score. So if you had a repayment due today and you paid it tomorrow or in a week's time, it could have an effect on your credit score. After a week, so if a repayment is a week late, lenders do report that through to Equifax or whoever the credit reporting agency is, and it goes on your credit file. Now, every lender can see that credit file. So they can see that you were a week late or whatever it was late on that payment. That doesn't look great when you're applying for finance. You're late on your repayment. So the lender starts thinking, why were they late? Did they not have the money? Were they in hardship? What was the reason for that? Basically, late payments, that is something that they really look at. We need to really avoid any sort of late payment. Next thing that lenders look at is inquiries. So that every time you apply for finance, it will put a mark on your credit file that you've applied for finance and for what amount. So if you're applying for a credit card each week or a personal loan or a car loan, or you're just really addicted to getting finance, I don't know what for, that does go onto your credit file, and that doesn't look great again. So some of the reasons people will make multiple inquiries is because they're desperate. They've been declined at a few different lenders, and that goes through. Actually, while we're on that, that's probably one of the biggest myths I've seen. If you do get declined on credit, it doesn't actually go through to your credit file. So if you get declined, it'll only still show that inquiry. So it's not something that lenders share with each other. So you might get asked, what was the status of that inquiry you made? Was it declined? Did it go through or whatever? But so as a lender, all they see is the inquiry there. They're going to assume that you were declined if it didn't go through. So again, inquiries, keep them to a minimum. That's something they're looking at. Next one is defaults. So a default is if you default on a payment for more than 60 days. So you've missed that 1 week, you've gone past a month, you've actually gone 2 months overdue on a payment. Most lenders or telcos or utilities or whoever it is will actually report that through to a debt collection agency. Now, these debt collection agencies can put what's called a default on your file. Basically, it's a black mark on your credit file to say that you didn't pay a debt that was due within 60 days. So obviously that's not going to look great on any credit file. So if you are ever in a position where you're late on a payment or you're disputing a payment even, just make sure you're doing whatever you can to make sure that default isn't going on your credit file. Next thing that we had a lot of, obviously during COVID, was hardship. So that's if you call up your lender and you say, I really need to pause my payments on my credit card, or I need to pause my payments on my home loan, or whatever it is, because I can't afford it at the moment. We understand cost of living's gone up at the moment, all these things. But again, a lender is not going to lend you money if you can't repay the current debts you've got. Most lenders will want to see at least 6 months of you not being on any of those hardship arrangements before they'll even look at or consider giving you more finance. Last one that we're going to talk about that it has a huge effect on your credit file is payday lenders. So payday lenders are your wallet wizards and those style lenders that you see on the TV. I think they give you instant funds up to 5,000 or 2,000 or whatever it is. They are generally used by people that don't have money. They're not the kind of lender that you're going to use to buy a new car or anything like that. You're kind of in a desperate situation. You've got no money. You need the money instantly. They have a huge effect on your credit score. They're really bad credit facilities. They charge huge amounts of interest, and yeah, something to be completely avoided. Next, we're going to talk about some tips to maintain a high credit score, or in some cases, improve your credit score. The first tip that we're going to talk about is direct debits. So if you've got repayments set up, maybe you might have missed them previously or whatever it is, you can set up direct debits to make sure those payments come out on time. Now, some lenders might not allow you to set up direct debits for whatever reason. They might want the late payment fee or whatever it is. You can set it up yourself. You can go into your internet banking, just get the BSB and account number and reference, whatever you need, set up those direct debit payments yourself, make sure they go through. The next thing that we'll talk about is consolidation. So if you've got multiple credit cards, multiple personal loans or whatever it is, try and consolidate them into one credit facility. That's less risk of having late payments. In most cases, it reduces your overall payment and you can smash into that one loan, get it down, get rid of it as quickly as you can. The last tip for me is amount credit inquiries. Don't apply for credit unless you need it. Don't apply for 3 or 4 credit cards just because you might need it, or 3 or 4 home loans or whatever if you have no intent of actually proceeding with something. Only apply for credit if you know you're going to need it, or you're going to do it. Because again, those inquiries do make a big difference on your credit file. Now, as promised at the start, I said if you did think that you've already ruined your credit file for whatever reason, might be a default or some late payments, you might think they're unfair or whatever it is, there are companies out there called credit repair agencies. Now, these agencies, they're basically solicitors or lawyers. And for a lender or any of those debt collection companies to put a default on your credit file, they have to follow a set process. That's just so that these things don't get put on your credit file for no reason, whatever it is. So what these lawyers do is they request back to the telco or the debt collection agency or the lender, whoever it was, they go back to them and ask them to prove that the process was followed as per those industry guidelines. If they can't prove that, that default or late payment or whatever it is has to be removed from your credit file. So that's massive for anyone that has defaults on their credit file. I would highly recommend that you engage a credit repair company. Now, they're not cheap, but long term, you're going to have a lower interest rate. You're going to have less of a deposit. It's going to be really worth it long term to get those things removed from your credit file. So that's it from me today. If you did like the video, can you please hit the like button and the subscribe so you can see further videos? Thank you.